He spoke soft, not as a warning or proud, but as if he had said it enough. It was now like an old, worn-out stone, rolled for years along the bottom of a river. Don't fall in love with me. For many, a man saying that will give them the impression of arrogance, and a man trying to keep his ability to maintain his freedom by putting up walls before others got close enough to threaten him. However, if you look at some of the few letters that survived from that winter in Paris in the year 1848, you will see a very different story from all of that. He was not trying to keep himself safe. He was trying to keep her safe. Elisa used to come to visit him at his apartment every Tuesday, showing up with ink-stained fingers and a good way of listening to him as if he had never been understood before. She was hired to transcribe his compositions, which he could no longer write because his hands were shaking, and the doctor had told them not about it yet. And for weeks they sat and worked together, mostly without talking, other than the sound of her pen scratching the page, and him sometimes humming, to help her through difficult parts of the music they were working on together. Then silence turned into dialogues. The dialogues evolved into evenings. The evenings became an unresolved time for the two of them. He composed musical notes. She transcribed them. Outside the narrow apartment on the Ile Saint-Louis was a city coming alive with fresh ideas of freedom. Inside that small space was the emergence of something much larger and more dangerous. And on the night which changed everything, when all shifted in relation to each other, he looked across the candle-lit room at her and said it. "Don't fall in love with me." She smiled with a hint of sadness and said she would make an effort not to. Her efforts were lackluster. For the next 2 seasons, they had an unusual existence. He would give her little things to show his appreciation. Small notes were written on the edges of sheet music or placed in between the pages of borrowed books. One such note included the words of John Keats, an English poet who died young in Rome, who wrote, "I almost wish we were butterflies and live but 3 summer days. 3 such days with you would give me more pleasure than 50 common years." She saved every note. She was neither aware, nor would she learn for nearly 10 years, that he had been writing for her something else altogether. An additional letter, a longer letter, one that was not to be sent to her, at least not at that time, possibly never. He finished it during the winter of 1850, shortly after his doctor told him to get to a warmer climate. He left quietly. He left without fanfare, as people do when they know they will not be returning and cannot say so aloud. He died the following spring, and she found out about it from a friend of theirs. And the manner in which she found out was very sudden, like a rock thrown through window glass. She grieved as best she could, which, for her, meant going back to the music, playing through all of the music she had transcribed, reading and memorizing his margin notes. The letter remained hidden until the year 1858, a full 10 years after that first night. It had been tucked away in the front cover of a gift from him, a manuscript that she had taken so casually that she thought it just another piece of music. The letter began with no salutation, but rather an explanation. He had expressed apprehension about falling in love with her because of the intensity of his love towards her. With clarity from his illness, he was aware of how much he loved her fully, and that it would destroy him if he were ever to leave her. He wanted to be able to leave her gently so as not to hurt her. He knew that he had ultimately loved her fully nonetheless. I think about this unsent letter. When we think of love, we tend to think of love as being a public declaration of love. But some of the greatest examples of love throughout history have been never actually vocalized. They were carried in silence, just like a burning lamp in an otherwise empty room long after everyone has gone to sleep. She never married. She kept doing transcription work until her hands trembled from the strain of working on such a difficult medium. There is a line written by her in the margins of her many manuscripts, written in large letters as it was becoming hard to compose due to age. By the end, I knew everything. Some love doesn't scream. They are just there, easy, hard. But once you have endured for that long, you can then see it clearly, even after all of time has passed. Actually, that will live within you for an eternity as well.